Hey, this is Claude Miles from Concave, and you're listening to 5-Year Mission, the podcast on the Trek Geeks Network.
Coconut. 5-Year Mission, the podcast, episode 21.
This episode of 5-Year Mission, the podcast, is brought to you by Fansets, your home for all things pop culture pin related. Head over to fansets.com and see all that they have to offer. And also stay tuned at the end of the episode for a very special offer from us here at 5-Year Mission.
By now you figured out that this is the 5-Year Mission podcast.
Welcome to 5-Year Mission, the podcast. What number is this? Is this like 13? No, I think we're almost at 20, aren't we?
I think this will be 21.
Ooh, 21. So we're past 20. That's neat. So tonight, well, I guess I always say tonight, and I think I've done this before. I say tonight, but it could be any time of day, really, that you're listening to this. So this episode,
There you go.
we are going back to What Are Little Songs Made Of? And we're going to be talking about Court Martial.
Which was on year two, right?
Yeah, year 2.
Good guess, Noah.
That's where we are. We're so far ahead of year 2 now. Whenever someone's like, "What album is this on?" I'm like, I don't know. I don't remember anymore. It's been a while. So yeah, Court Martial. Court Martial is the one where Kirk is court-martialed. See what they did there?
Clever name.
I know. He's accused of basically he's being accused of murdering this guy that, well, he worked with him before, and because of Kirk, I mean, Kirk saved the ship, but because of him, this guy got he didn't, did he get demoted? He wasn't able to excel like he wanted to, and he wanted to
it's when Kirk was like an ensign or a lieutenant or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, because of Kirk, he had this bad mark on his record and he was never able to get a command.
That's right. Benjamin Finney.
Yeah.
Yeah, Finney. So Finney was, he forgot to turn off some warp switch or something, and it was going to destroy the ship, and Kirk turned it off and then made a report. And so this guy had it in for him, but you don't know that until later in the episode. But so Kirk, this guy dies, and then you find out all this other stuff. But you got the lawyer Cogsley, is that a name? Cogley.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah, it's Cogley. He's this guy that doesn't like computers. You know what's funny about this episode? This episode is essentially another Kirk versus the computer episode, except for instead of Kirk outsmarting the computer, he kind of does, really. He still kind of outsmarts the computer, although he does it with the help of this lawyer and Spock.
Yeah.
Because essentially this guy, he's court-martialed, and he goes through all this rigmarole, and then he gets this idea, and they go on the ship, and
Spock plays chess with the computer and discovers that the computer is not as smart as it used to be.
Yeah, it's been tampered with. And so he gets this idea that they'll go to the ship because they suspect this guy is still there. And they tell everybody to evacuate the ship. Why this guy didn't leave as well, I don't know. They evacuate the ship, and then this guy is left there, and they have the computer monitor for heartbeats, except for the ones on the bridge. And that's how they find him. And then,
they go through the ridiculously long sequence of walking around the bridge and removing each person's heartbeat.
Oh, yeah. It's like it's like this little device that they tap on him.
He's holding like a microphone.
Yeah, that's right. It is a microphone.
And he puts it up to everyone's chest and acts like he's turning it.
Yeah.
And then it removes each person's heartbeat.
So, and then
But and then the funniest thing is like right at the end, they're like the only heartbeat left is our crewman that's working down in engineering. Spock, can you remove that from the console? And he reaches over and presses one button and then it's gone. Like, why did they go through the process of removing everyone's heartbeat one by one if Spock could just press a button?
Well, and why did they do that anyway? If the computer's monitoring for heartbeats, there weren't that many that, if everybody's evacuated the ship, we'll just look in other places on the ship. And that's where the guy is. It's like, okay, we know this other guy is in engineering. Oh, wait, there's a heartbeat over here. We better take everybody else's out just to make sure.
The lawyer in this is sort of like an eccentric character, right? He's not like your typical straight-laced corporate lawyer, right?
He's very old-fashioned. He doesn't like computers.
Old-fashioned, that's what it. Yeah.
And he
uses real books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first time we see him, he's surrounded just like piles of books. He's like Billingsley in his house, surrounded by books, stacks of books. So yeah, that he's very eccentric. He doesn't like and that's this episode. That's another reason why it's kind of funny is that it kind of vindicates this guy's hatred of the computer because the computer is able to be tampered with, and that's how the video that they show, because they show this video for the court martial, it's kind of this damning evidence. It shows that Kirk jettisoned this pod where this guy was before setting the red alert. Would have been tampered with because he set a yellow alert, warned everybody. Then he set the red alert and made sure they got, tried to make sure everybody was safe. And then he jettisoned this pod it was an ion pod. It was going to, I don't know, explode the ship or something. And the guy was supposedly in it. And, it was funny that, when he goes to the bar, there's like that bar that people meet, when they're on a star base, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, it's on like a planet colony.
Yeah. Okay. And they go to this this bar or lounge or whatever. And there are all these guys
suspiciously like the K7.
Yeah, it is actually. They used. I saw somewhere that they used a lot of like the Commodore. Was it a Commodore that was the guy that was kind of presiding over the court martial? Well, anyway, there was an office, and there was like this personal transporter pad, and that came from K7.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. And you know what other
port master.
Yeah. Okay. Another episode got recycled a few times in this episode? The Naked Time. Yeah. They use songs from this. They use shots from Naked Time. Thought that was kind of funny.
I see you read the trivia section on IMDb, Chris.
Actually, I was on Memory Alpha, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did.
So I was just looking up some pictures of the episode because one thing that sticks out in my memory, because I really haven't seen it in quite a while, was all of the dress uniforms, all of like the big formal high up dress uniforms, because there's like tons of them in every color.
Oh yeah, this is the episode I always think of whenever you see a dress uniform.
Yeah, I always think of the dress uniform.
Yeah, in fact, and there's so many of them too. There's just 6, 7 of them.
Yeah. In fact, the woman lawyer, Shaw, I think was her name.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only time they ever use a female dress uniform, because you never see Uhura in dress uniform.
Right. That's true. It's not much different.
It's really not. It's longer.
It's longer.
And that's about it. And it has most of the dress uniforms have like medals or pins or whatever.
Yeah.
And hers is just an insignia, isn't it?
It's like
it's because she's a woman, and women don't earn those kinds of medals.
Yeah, right.
The dress
is only so progressive, apparently,
and the dress is not as low cut as some of the other ones. It rides a little bit higher up on the neck.
Yeah, all the dress uniforms have kind of a tight neck, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, very very tight neck. Yeah, but in this in these pictures, I see a picture now of what you're talking about, the microphone.
Yeah.
And Kirk is just like holding it up. It is a microphone. It is literally a microphone.
Yeah. It's like an SM57 or something.
Yeah, that's
what it looks like.
It's like one of those. It's like a 58, I think. It's big and silver and ridiculous looking. Yeah,
I couldn't remember. Oh, it's Commodore Stone, by the way, and he's got that really shiny red and gold dress uniform on.
Yep.
But that is actually, speaking of progressive, that he was a black man in the 60s.
Yeah,
and he was a Commodore on Star Trek. So that's at the time that would have been rather progressive.
Yeah, I always thought that was pretty cool about this episode.
Yeah, it's also the first mention of Starfleet.
Yep.
So season 2, this was
season 1.
Yeah, season 1, but it was at least probably almost 20 episodes in, wasn't it? Where past 20 episodes.
This is like the 20th episode, I think.
Yeah, and they had never mentioned Starfleet, so it kind of speaks to the fact that they were still figuring things out at the time.
Also, they refer to Spock as Vulcanian. Rather than just Vulcan. So, I don't know which what production order this falls in, but I feel like this episode was maybe one they filmed a little earlier and just didn't put out until the end of the season.
Let's see production number.
Because there's a lot of stuff in this episode that just seems like they were still figuring things out.
This is the 15th.
Yeah.
And this is the 20th episode. So it was the 15th production, 15th produced, and then this is the 20th that actually aired. I don't know, 15th though, that's still pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty far in.
Well established. I mean, it's no, Corbomite maneuver. Or they're still wearing those goofy uniforms.
And actually looking at these pictures, out of the I think it's 4 main. Are they all Commodores? Just the 4 main.
The judges
who are there.
I don't think so.
There's 4 of them, all in the same dress uniform.
Yeah. Commodore Stone is, I think he's the only Commodore. I think the other ones were I
think they're
peers
just
or something, weren't
referred
they?
to as board officers.
Yeah.
Well, my point is, going back to the progressive thing, there's 4 of them, and actually 2 of them are Caucasian and 2 of them are not.
Actually,
so it's actually a 50 split there of diversity.
I think the guy in the blue, I can't really tell in this picture, but he looks like he could be of color as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Some kind of mix maybe, but it's really, Star Trek always tried to be progressive and they failed miserably with women often, but when it came to race, they actually did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I mean, in the beginning, obviously later on, they were much better, in the subsequent series, they were much better at being inclusive with women.
Yeah.
And progressive that way. Well, then again, the lawyer that is the prosecutor in the court martial, she's a woman, and that's, she's an established, well-known lawyer, and someone that Starfleet uses as their prosecutor. So it's not like they didn't completely whiff on that one.
It's no turnabout intruder.
No, it's no turnabout intruder. You got that right. But of course, Kirk does have a passionate kiss with her at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I know. It's
because
so awkward.
It is.
So unlike Noah, I actually prepared and watched the episode.
Oh, how novel.
And I always would think about this episode as like a snoozer, like just kind of a boring episode that I would want to skip. But after I watched it today, I kind of enjoyed it. It was better than I remembered. I actually think it's a pretty good episode. It's
still a pretty mid-tier episode. I mean, I like the episode okay, but it's not there's not a whole lot of action in it.
No, it's not an action-packed episode.
You know what would help this episode is if it were somehow turned into like an upbeat country western swing kind of, song. That's what would help it. Yeah, I think it would be less of a sleeper if that kind of treatment was done to it.
That's quite a segue.
Actually, I think it might be better if it were like a dark, angry alt rock type song.
Oh,
I forgot about that.
that's right. Let's talk about that.
Okay, so in writing this song, so this year 2 was the I was just trying to find different styles to use. So I did the kind of Spanish sound for Squire, and I did City on the Edge of Forever was that waltzy kind of feel, and I wanted to do something different. And so the original version of Court Martial was very like dark and angry, and to me just kind of boring. So what I did is I wanted to find something different, and I was at a show with my wife and her parents, and it was a group that they did a lot of covers and that kind of thing. And they said, okay. And then they came out and they said, okay, we're going to do this Western swing. And I started playing it, and I was like, that's interesting. I kind of like that. I've never done that before. It's, it kind of moves and it's fun. And so that's kind of where I got the idea. Of course, I had never done a Western swing song before, and I really didn't know how to make it happen. So I listened to a lot of sample examples of Western swing, what I could find, and then just kind of went for it. And what I did is I took the same lyrics from the original version and just applied this new feel to it. And I don't remember the reaction to that you guys had, because I hadn't written anything remotely like that before.
I remember there being actually a lot of resistance to the change, because
actually no, I had because Balance of Terror had that country feel.
Yeah, I mean you had that on the first album, and I think we had already all listened to the demo and we're kind of
that's right,
enjoying it, and then suddenly you came in to practice with this totally different version that was just silly compared to the other one. I think a few of us were very skeptical.
Well, and I remember the first time we started practicing it, because it has, it hits on that offbeat, and man, we had a lot of trouble just finding that to keep, and it was just putting it together. I think it was unexpected for him. He didn't really know how to handle it at first. And I remember that the first couple of times we tried it was just a train wreck, and I was having doubts. I was like, man, I don't know. Are we ever going to be able to pull this together? I think we did a pretty good job of pulling together. I mean, we don't play it very often, because I think that's kind of a carryover as far as it just being difficult for us to do. But also it didn't seem all that popular live when we did play it.
Well, it's such a contrast to what most of our stuff is.
Yeah.
And at a lot of the venues that we play, it just seems really like a kind of a staller in the set. Like, if we're moving along with a lot of upbeat songs, or even though that song's upbeat, like we get to it and it's just so left field, I think it's just kind of like, what are these guys doing?
I think that if it's one of those things where I think if we were all really comfortable with it and we just killed it, then it would be different. But it's not one of those songs. And it also has that weird break in the middle where it's like, and that was intended because the feel I was going, when I settled on this, because I always try to make it make sense with the songs. And I was kind of poking fun at the whole idea that this guy, like this is Starfleet and they have all these regulations, and this dude's just able to, reprogram the computer and trick everybody. And so it always, that in and of itself seemed kind of absurd to me. and so I wanted to kind of translate that into song, and that's kind of where that feel worked for me. And then the bridge section is where it goes back to dark, where this guy is just like, he's completely lost himself, and he's just kind of off his rocker, and he's crazy and just wanting revenge. And that's kind of where that goes. They have that brawl in engineering. It's always engineering for some reason. There's always fighting in engineering, he fought Khan in engineering too, but Kirk and Finney fight in engineering. And that's kind of that section, I think. And then after that's over, it just goes back to being, happy again. Everybody's okay.
Yeah. And I remember it was really hard to get it all to come together. And it did. It took a lot of work, and it did. I feel like it really did come together for a while there. But yeah, it just didn't get played regularly. And now if you guys would say to pull it up, like, I just have to sort of step off the key. Like, I worked really hard to figure out a key part to kind of go with it and complement it. But it was so long ago. I just have no confidence in myself to figure out what I was doing. And we play it, so little that it's I don't have any motivation to go and figure it out. But I think, the rest of you, I think, pull it off pretty well. I feel fairly useless whenever we do it.
This is one of the songs that I always remember how to play for some reason.
Yeah, you do. Well,
it's pretty easy. But the thing, I think, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is one of the songs where I played guitar for the recording and we didn't use it. Or it's way back.
I think it's in there in a couple spots because
it was just too muddy when we had all the sounds.
Yeah, it was really messy, and when we took your guitar out, and it just really cleaned it up. And
my guitar in that is really percussive because it has playing it on acoustic. That's it's supposed to have that percussive feel, just to enunciate those beats. And with Andy doing the same thing, we were just trampling all over each other, as I recall. Yeah. And so I think it was a good decision to pull that out. I think it's still in there in some places, like you say, but it's we mainly pulled that guitar out, which I think.
Yeah, I know it's in the bridge, and I think it's it might be in between the verses, but we definitely took it out of the verses.
I think in the bridge, I do those walk up like down, bow, bow, because I usually did those live, I think.
Yeah.
But I think we all do them live now, don't we? I don't know. I know
Patrick and I do them.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think we all do.
And I don't know how many people, know this about Mike, but he secretly is like a country music genius behind the scenes. But I think he kind of keeps that on the down low. But it's not surprising to me at all that this is something that you can just pull out at any time and just do it and remember it like you've got some secret country artistry, in your blood that I think it's kind of just second nature to you.
Yeah, I grew up listening to my dad's band all the time, and that's totally the kind of music they played nonstop, and so I was exposed to it a lot. So it's pretty easy to pull it out.
I don't know if we have this on video or not, but I remember one night at Hero House when you just picked up a acoustic guitar and you just started doing the first 30 seconds of all of our songs in the same just Willie Nelson style or something. It was just it was hilarious, and I feel like we videotaped it, but maybe we didn't. I don't remember.
I have no idea.
I think I missed that night because I remember you guys talking about it, and I feel like there was a reprise of that at some point that I was there for because I remember. But I think I remember you guys talking about it, and I was disappointed that I wasn't there.
Yeah, should be something that we some sort of
one of these days we'll have to do
Mike, what did you? Was it this song or another one? Did you play Pedal Steel?
Yeah, I did.
That was on Balance of Terror.
On Balance of Terror, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, where did you get that pedal steel, by the way? Like, I think it's crazy now that we had one and we used it, and it's on the recording, and Mike played it. That's crazy.
It's my dad's. I borrowed it from him for that, and it sat in your dining room for like 4 years.
I do remember that. Whatever happened to it? Did you give it back?
I took it back to my dad.
Does he still have it?
I think so.
I think it needs to come back for year 5.
Make a reprise,
but not use it on a country style song. Use it in a different context, right? Because year 5 is going to be the art album, right? It's going to be art. It's the whole thing is going to be like a very artistic, right?
Oh, great! Now I have to. Now I have to rewrite the Savage Curtain again.
And no matter what you do with the Savage Curtain, it's going to be art, Chris. It's going to be.
Yeah, we'll see. I've got ideas. So do you remember, did we have any, I think this one was pretty straightforward. I don't think we had any strange instruments or backups or anything. In fact, I think I did all the backups on this, didn't I?
That sounds about right. Patrick might have done some.
I know Patrick sings along with you on some parts when we do it live. I don't know if he did it on the recording.
I did because there's harmonies throughout on the entire thing, and that's another reason.
You're right. I forgot all about that. Yeah, you recorded like 2 harmony through like the entire song basically.
Yeah, and that's another reason why we don't play it, because we can't replicate. Because I think I did a high and a low harmony on that, and so there's 3 vocals on throughout on the whole song, and so it's really difficult to do that live and make it sound good. Well, I mean, depending on the song, but I mean, this is all the way through. So it's not just me that would have to know the lyrics. It would be 2 other people that have to know the lyrics. And we know Noah doesn't know how to learn lyrics. Or
what?
In harmony.
What?
So yeah.
Yeah.
Many reasons why we don't play this song very often. Although we have played it before for acoustic shows, and it's very well suited for acoustic.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, as much as I protested this version of the song when we first worked on it, I mean, I've grown to really love it, and I actually really enjoy playing it live when we do it, because I really like what I came up with for it, and it's fun to play.
It's that lead line that you made up, right?
Yeah.
It goes throughout the song. Yeah, I really like that too. Patrick plays bass on this, doesn't he?
Yes.
Okay. So I really like that too. And I think the original version, I never really was super into it. It's just one of those things where I finished the song, I'm like, sweet, send, and then I thought about it. I was like, man, you know what? I just don't like, it was so plotting, and I was like, I don't want to do one like this.
But you know what? It's like, I mean, I knew that version when you sent it out, obviously, but how many years ago was that? I don't think I've listened to it since, right? Except for, he's playing.
There it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I just listened to it not too long ago for the first time in however many years. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's really cool. Like I think it's cooler now listening to it than I did even when you sent it out.
Right. Because we've done the other version, and now that's like this cool alternate version that, might have been.
And
we can always record it.
Yeah. Well, we've always toyed with those ideas of recording. I mean, a lot of us have alternate versions of songs. A lot of us have sent out an initial demo to everybody, and we all, and everybody listened to it, and then we've changed it completely, like just rewrote it totally. And so we all have these alternate versions of these songs that would be fun to go back and revisit and do like proper recorded versions of down the road. That would be fun.
The one thing about that version versus the version that we recorded is that version doesn't have that bridge. So yeah, you don't have that break. It's just kind of that's one of the things I didn't really like about it is it's very static. It doesn't really do a whole lot. It just kind of goes verse, chorus, verse, that kind of thing, and it didn't have a lot of. I just found it boring after a while, so I just wanted to do something different, and so I came up with something else.
Yeah, well, and if you're anything like me in the writing process, like I'll write a version of a song and just think it's the greatest thing and just like, it's great. But then I live with it for a month and I'm just like, that's trash. All right. Something, and then I go to something else and write a different version.
Yeah.
And then years later, I go back and listen to that first version and go, oh, that was really cool. Why did I not why did I dismiss that? Why did I toss that aside?
Well,
probably because we don't have, like, if we had strict deadlines or something that would, probably make you commit to whatever you created, but the fact that it's like, 5 months later, I'm going to try something different. I'm sick of that now.
Yeah.
I've lived with it for that long.
Well, this was just, so year one we did in a year, and year two we did in a year.
Yeah.
And I think part of, so we didn't have, I know it seems crazy now.
Then we did tribbles in the next year.
In the next year, yeah.
And so we were just, churning them out.
Cranking stuff out.
And I think so that kind of, with that kind of production, we also didn't have a lot of time to go from one version to another.
No, we didn't.
And we also didn't have a whole lot of time to really work with and live with the stuff that we're creating. And so,
not like year 5.
Yeah, right. I mean, well, everything after Tribbles,
we're all going to have 13 versions of every song.
The smash release of 2023.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it makes sense. What we were doing back then is different than what we're doing now. So, I came up with a version. I just like shot it out real quick because I'm like, okay, this is it. And then after a little while, I just didn't like it anymore. And so I turned it around, which wasn't maybe the best for being able to work the song up and really figure it out. So, I mean, I think that kind of speaks to where we ended up with it as well. Not being able to play it as much, and I say that, but we could play it if we just really wanted to and really worked on it. But there are other songs we want to work on that just play better live, and so that's
well, also when you have only so many songs in a set,
yeah,
and you have 4 songwriters that can only choose like 3 songs, like a lot of the songs like Court Martial just get tossed aside really easy because you're like, well, there's these other 5 songs that I want to do, and I got to choose from those.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we never play Balance of Terror either. Or,
right. Menagerie.
That's what I was thinking of. Alternative Factor.
Yeah.
Although I was telling Mike, I did find a live version of Alternative Factor.
It's probably the only time. It's probably the only time we played it live.
And it was at Trek Fest in Iowa, the first year we were there. And what sucks about it is that the video, whoever was taking video, because you can tell that it was handheld. They moved in the middle of the song, and so it goes about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes into the song, and then it cuts off, and then it jumps about 1 minute in the song.
Oh.
So there's a big chunk missing.
Oh, that stinks.
Yeah. So I was actually gonna put it out for Patreon, but I didn't have the whole version, so I considered just cobbling together what we had, but then figure we can do better.
Yeah, well, that just means we need to like relearn the song and practice it, so we can actually play it live again.
I agree. I think we should.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to do it. I'm ready for that. It's just
I'm glad.
I literally have to relearn the entire song, like the chords, everything. Like I don't remember how to play that song.
I remember the little lead part at the beginning. But the rest of it, I cannot remember any of it.
I don't really either. I'm on keys, but I think keys are pretty easy on that.
I just did all these like complicated, like major seventh jazz chords on it, and there's a whole bunch of them, and I don't remember what they are.
I feel
I
like
have to figure them out.
B and D or something, like mostly, except for the pre-chorus and chorus.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of A and D for the most part.
Maybe it's A and D.
All right, Noah, what you need to do is you need to dig around in your house and find the year 2 sessions, because they're in there somewhere, like saved on CDs or something.
Yeah, they are.
And you find those, and then we can actually listen to our individual tracks.
Individual tracks. Yeah, that's true. I think actually some of them are still sitting in my bottom desk drawer at my work. Like, because I think I was like, well, you know, if the house burns down, we won't, you know, we'll lose our backups at the time. Like, I think it was like while we were recording them, I was backing them up on DVDRs.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't want to have them in the house because that's where everything is. So I'll take them to work. And I think they're still sitting in the desk drawer at the, you know, however many years later.
Take 'em out.
I keep saying how many years later. How many years later is it? When did we put out 2002 or year 2?
Year 2 came out in 2011.
2011.
9 years ago this November.
9 years ago. It seems like much longer.
I know.
So much longer than 9 years.
Well, like it's both. Like, it feels like way longer, but it also feels like it just happened.
It also feels like, how did we get all this done in the span of 10 years?
Yeah.
Because it's, I mean,
Well, according to Patrick, we're behind schedule.
it could have been done 5 years ago.
And then when I see pictures of ourselves 9 years ago, I'm just like, oh my God, we look so young.
We're babies.
How did we get so old in 9 years?
Hey man, that once you late 30s, early 40s, it's rough.
It is. It's so rough.
Especially when you have 4-year-olds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or any year olds.
Yeah, for real. I don't think I have any other colorful anecdotes for playing or anything.
Yeah, I can't think of any like stories or anything.
I mean, we haven't played it that much.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about it.
No. But I do think we actually did play it. Didn't we play it last year at Summer Concave?
We did.
Possible.
So we actually did play it in 2019, I think, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, which is crazy because I don't think had played it. For
because we did. It was acoustic,
eight
right?
years before that, but I think we did. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure anytime that we have an acoustic show, I'm like, hey, let's play Court Martial. Because I feel like that one comes together better than Balance. Balance of Terror always sounds like a train wreck every time we play it, but this one actually seems like it works out okay usually. And
Claude, I think Claude, he almost videotapes every show that we play, acoustic or not, and it exists somewhere. So if somebody wanted to hear the 2019 version of Court Martial live acoustic, it exists somewhere, I think, on the inner tubes.
I'm sure I have a version of Court Martial somewhere. I probably have a version of Alternative Factor somewhere too. I mean, it can't be the only time we ever played it, right? At Concave or
yeah, we used to play it.
Well,
a few times.
So at the year 2 release show at Starbase Indy, I think we played just about the entire album at that show.
Oh, well, maybe, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we played almost all the songs. I think there were only like 2 or 3 that we didn't, and so I think we played Alternative Factor there. I know we played Court Martial.
So
I'll have to check. I'll have to look for that.
Yeah. So that reminds me, out to the general public here, if we all die together in some horrible fiery plane crash or something, go to Chris's wife and there is a treasure trove somewhere at Chris's house. There's a hard drive with just our entire VH1 behind the music.
Yeah.
stuff for you to witness and see and put together. It's there. It exists.
Hey, random person, just come to my house I'm dead, and bother my wife. Hey, I'm sorry your husband just died. Can I have that?
I'm making a documentary about your dead husband.
There's also a hard drive at Hero House that's got a bunch of stuff on it.
There you go. So for anybody.
Oh, and there's some hard discs in Noah's drawer.
my desk.
Yeah.
In his bottom drawer under some papers and a book. Probably.
If you want to remix year 2.
Yeah. If you need any individual tracks of any of our albums that predate to Trouble with Tribbles, you're gonna have to go to Noah's school and dig through his desk drawers.
We're gonna get a lot of angry letters about this, guys.
No, I think we're gonna have a lot of people showing up at our house. Wait till we're dead, people. Wait till we're dead. Does that wrap it up for court martial?
It all began when we were younger. We had become friends. Then came that day that I forgot that switch. That's when the friendship ends. Busted down my career, gone now, and I have you to blame. On board your ship, but you do not suspect. I wish your fate to be the same. And I will deceive you and sacrifice your name to reveal what is true and contradict your claim. They'll take from you what they took away from me, and you will be forgotten. This court martial will see. Though it appeared the pot ejected, with me still inside. The red alert had not yet been reached, and now it's your fault that I died. So I will wait for you in madness. I will hide this day of truth I've been waiting for. No one will change this fate that comes your way. And now it's time to even the score. But what is this? They're all aboard now, suspecting my plan. Betrayed by heart, Kurt will find me now. So I'll battle him man to man, and I will defeat you and sacrifice your name to destroy what is true and make good for your blame. Your sanity won't save you from the madness inside me, and I will finally kill you. This court martial will see. Sanity won't save you from the
we have officially launched the 5 Year Mission Patreon. On there, you can see posts with pictures and videos of behind-the-scenes shenanigans with the band and the podcast. There are different levels you can sign up for, where you'll get exclusive merch and videos and unreleased tracks and demos and other stuff from the band and the podcast that you wouldn't normally get if you didn't follow us on Patreon. The different tiers you get to choose from go from ensign all the way up to admiral, and one of the perks of being an admiral is that you get to be a producer on this podcast. This week's producers are Neil Carpenter, Debbie Rinke, Helen Lake, Carol Jones, Steve and Frankie Palopoli, Madison Rachel Jones, Becky and Roxy, and of course, Jim Morehouse. So head over to the 5 Year Mission Patreon right now and sign up as an admiral, and your name could be listed at the end of the next episode of 5 Year Mission, the podcast. Just go to patreon.com/5 Year Mission. That's the number 5 Year Mission.
Fansets.com is your home for all things pop culture pin related. Head over to fansets.com right now. You can see new releases from DC Comics as well as things from Star Trek Picard, including the Soji character pin, and from Star Trek Discovery, the new #1. That's right, #1 in your hearts, #1 on the Enterprise, the #1 character pin. From Star Trek Picard, they have the La Sirena pin, as well as the continuing Star Trek Delta collection with releases from Discovery, Voyager, Picard, and the Picard Mini Premier Delta. And, as advertised, if you head over there right now, you can see all the new character pin releases from the new Star Trek Lower Decks. That's right, Mariner, Boimler, Tendi, Tana, Rutherford. Anyway, head over to fansets.com right now, fill up your cart with some brand new releases, and upon checkout, why don't you go ahead and put in the discount code 5 Year Mission. That is the number 5, and then all caps Year Mission, 5 Year Mission. You will receive 15% off of your entire order. Fansets. Our pins have character, and we thank the boys at Fansets for sponsoring our show each and every single time we decide to put out an episode.
That's going to wrap it up for this episode of 5 Year Mission, the podcast. We've had a great time talking about Court Martial, the episode and the song. We hope that you've learned a few things that you didn't know, and time to go listen to Year 2.
I sure want to live. I sure want to live.
Thank you for listening to this episode of 5 Year Mission, the podcast. If any of you are interested in listening to more of our music, you can check us out on YouTube or Spotify or iTunes or pretty much anywhere that you can listen to music. Just search for 5 Year Mission and we should be the first thing that comes up. If you would like to contact us in regards to the podcast or anything else that you want to talk to us about, you can email us at 5yearmissionband@gmail.com.
And for more information about the band, you can go to 5yearmission.net. And also, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
5 Year Mission, the podcast, is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.